Everybody, welcome to the latest installment of The Break. I'm Brad Latchett. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for PI Northeast. Today, we're going to be discussing general cancellation and non-renewal requirements across our Northeast states. Claire Irvin is here to lead us through that discussion. I'm going to turn it over to Claire. She is a Director of Government. I'm Director of Government. I did this last time too. She is Government Affairs Counsel for PI. I keep trying to give you my job, Claire. Claire, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I don't believe promotions via Zoom/video recording count. But
yeah, I guess it's not legally binding.
you do try. But thanks, Brad. So as Brad said, today's break is on the general cancellation and non-renewal requirements with a strong emphasis on the general. We have very thorough resources in other classes, but this is mostly just the main points and in response to member questions we've been getting. So the main point with carrier cancellations is when a policy comes up for renewal, carriers may generally decide not to renew a policy. There's a couple specific requirements that vary state by state, but that is the generally how it works. The policy comes up for renewal in the same way the policyholder may choose to change their policy. The carrier may also choose not to renew it. There's specific protections for personal auto policies in each state. So if you have an issue with personal auto, I highly recommend you look at our resources on that and resources, because that is very specific. Just in general, for other policies, there's protections in place to protect policyholders, both in notice requirements, but also while the carrier may choose to cancel or non-renew policies when the policy term expires, there are general protections in place for partial and complete market withdrawals by a carrier. So right now, the economy is in a very different spot than it was 12 months ago, and carriers are reevaluating their policies. So while they might choose not to renew all policies, they can't completely withdraw from a marketplace at the snap of their fingers or when the policy comes out. They have to work with the state insurance departments so that there's not, to try and keep the market about as stable as possible, based on all the other circumstances. So that's just another thing to put in, but this is for specific policies. So when a carrier decides that they don't want to renew a specific policy, they must send an advance notice to the policyholder. And generally, they will also send that notice to the agent, broker, producer of record. And they're actually required to do this in many states, including Connecticut and New York. Each state has specific requirements for how this notice is sent out. So many states, including states in the Northeast, will actually require this to be mailed to the policyholder. The carrier may email it to the broker producer of record based on how they traditionally communicate with them, but they must mail it to the policyholder within a certain number of days before the policy is up for renewal. So that gives the policyholder advance notice in their mailbox. Some states are discussing allowing insurance carriers to give this notice electronically, but even when they allow that, the policyholder has to opt in to receiving electronic notices. So if they'd rather receive it by email, they can opt in if the state allows that, but they can't be required to accept any notification via email. And in this notice requirement that has to be sent out a certain number of days before the policy is up for renewal, the carrier must also include a reason why they've chosen not to renew the policy. And this is really where we've been getting some questions recently. It's because people get this reason for non-renewal, and it's something, it must be specific, but it'll say something like underwriting requirements or the number of policies in a region. And people kind of think it's not really a response to a change in the policy, it's more a response to the market. And the question is always, are they allowed to do that? And the general answer is, yep, they can do that. The only real limitation for the reasons for non-renewal is, first of all, it must be specific. It can't just be the carrier chose not to renew the policy. But the only real limitation beyond that is for discriminatory reasons. So protection in a membership of a protected class. So a carrier cannot suddenly decide they cannot reveal they've canceled a homeowner's insurance policy because they decided they don't want to write for someone who's over 50 years old, or they don't want to write a homeowner's policy for me because I am a woman. they can't do that. Instead, they have to give a specific reason that is non-discriminatory for membership to a protected class. And what always seems really bizarre, particularly to producers, is when this reason is something such as a claim made on the policy. So someone has a homeowner's policy for 15, 20 years, renews it every year, pays their premiums, never has an issue, makes a claim that probably isn't even, when you add it up, as much as they've been paying in premiums for 20 years. Comes up for renewal and the carrier decides they don't want to renew it because there's a claim on the policy. This is the exact reason people have insurance. It's baffling to everyone, but that is a permitted reason for a carrier not to renew a policy, as weird as that sounds. Similarly, a policy could have been in place for 20 years and the carrier can send notice that due to changes in their underwriting, they're not going to renew the policy, even if nothing with the risk actually changed. The house is in the same condition, it's been kept up, the premium's been paid on time, all upkeep on the house has been right on schedule, still can choose not to renew the policy due to changes in underwriting. It can also be just they've decided they've insured too many houses in the county and they are pulling back. Again, there's specific protections for kind of large scale market withdrawal, but for just kind of cutting down the number of policies in the region, the carrier can do that and they can cite that as the reason for non-renewal. So this might help when it comes to placing policies, saying it's not due to the actual risk itself, the carrier reason, but it is just baffling because many of these are things that are outside the producer's control, outside the policyholder's control, and really are, particularly for the claims, are the reason you have insurance in the first place. So with that, that's the most general, broadest overviews on cancellations and non-renewals. It hopefully is answering some of the questions we get, but there's further resources down below that are very, very extensive that PI has. And of course, we do have questions on a specific cancellation or non-renewal that you have, please contact myself, Brad, or the PI Resource Center. We are here to help you with those. And answer your questions about how a carrier can really cancel a policy for that reason.
Thank you, Claire. That was great. As you mentioned, we've got extensive resources on this. So if you do have specific questions, refer to those. Claire, great job. Thank you very much for that breakdown. And I guess we'll see everybody soon for the next break.